If you close your eyes and hear the name Lebanon, what comes to mind first? For many, it is a country defined by headlines, by history written in fragments, by images of cities shaped by time and tension. But beyond everything you think you know, beyond the noise of perception and distance of assumption, there exists another Lebanon, quiet, elevated, timeless. A land where the mountains do not divide life but protect it, where stone villages cling to cliffs as if they were grown from the earth itself, and where time no longer moves in straight lines but in cycles of light, wind, and seasons. This is not the Lebanon of speed or urgency. This is the Lebanon where life slows down until it becomes something almost invisible, yet deeply present in every detail. Leaving behind the coastal cities and their constant movement, the landscape begins to rise, and with it, everything changes. Roads narrow, buildings fade, and the horizon opens into vast limestone mountains that stretch like frozen waves across the land. Here, the air feels different, not just cleaner but older, as if it has passed through centuries before reaching you. Villages appear unexpectedly, carved into slopes and valleys, built from pale stone that reflects the sun during the day and holds warmth during the night. Red-tiled roofs stand out against the earth tones like small signals of human presence in a landscape that feels otherwise eternal. There is no rush here. There is no race against time. People live by the rhythm of something far older than clocks. The sunrise determines movement, the sunset determines rest, and everything in between is shaped by necessity and balance rather than schedules. Shepherds guide their flocks across paths that have existed longer than memory. Farmers work terraces that follow the natural geometry of the mountains, adapting not by changing the land, but by listening to it. Water flows through ancient channels, carefully shared, carefully respected, because in this environment, nothing is abundant enough to be wasted and nothing is scarce enough to be forgotten. In these hidden mountain communities, life is not designed for efficiency, but for continuity. Houses are built from stone because stone belongs here. Walls are thick not for defense, but for temperature and time. Windows are small not to limit the view, but to frame it. Every structure feels less like construction and more like adaptation, as if the village itself grew from the landscape rather than being placed upon it. And within this stillness, there is sound, but not the kind that dominates. It is the sound of wind moving through valleys, of distant bells carried across slopes, of footsteps on stone paths worn smooth by generations. It is the sound of daily life unfolding without performance. In some villages, morning begins with the smell of bread baked in traditional ovens, the heat rising into cool mountain air. In others, it begins with the sound of water being drawn from shared sources, or animals being guided into open fields that stretch between cliffs and sky. These are not moments meant to be observed, they are simply lived. And yet, they carry a kind of beauty that does not ask for attention. As the day unfolds, sunlight moves slowly across limestone peaks, changing the color of entire villages as it passes. Shadows stretch across courtyards where families gather, not in isolation, but in continuity with each other. Hospitality here is not a concept, it is structure. Doors are not barriers but invitations. A visitor is not interruption but participation. Food is shared without hesitation, stories are exchanged without expectation, and silence is never uncomfortable because it is part of communication itself. As evening approaches, the mountains begin to change again. The heat fades, the air cools, and the sky opens into deep gradients of gold and violet. From above, the villages begin to glow softly, small constellations of light anchored to the earth. It becomes difficult to distinguish where human presence ends and natural landscape begins. Everything feels connected, layered, continuous. And when night fully arrives, Lebanon's hidden mountains reveal a different kind of silence. Not emptiness, but presence. The kind of silence that holds memory. The kind that has witnessed centuries without needing to speak of them. Stars appear not as decoration but as part of the environment, overwhelming in number and clarity. In these moments, time feels suspended, not stopped, but softened. And you begin to understand that this land is not hidden because it is lost, but because it does not seek to be found. It exists outside the rhythm of attention, It does not change to be seen. It continues because continuation is its nature. The mountains of Lebanon are not just geography, they are archive. Every stone village is a page. Every path is a sentence. Every generation is a continuation of something that never fully ended. And what remains most powerful is not what has changed here, but what has not. The rhythm of nature still determines life. The relationship between people and land is still direct, unmediated, honest. The sense of scale still humbles rather than overwhelms. And in a world that moves faster each year, this place remains something rare, a landscape that refuses to forget itself. So when you think of Lebanon again, beyond the images you have seen before, imagine this other world. A world where mountains hold memory instead of silence, where villages breathe with the rhythm of the earth, where time is not measured in urgency but in presence. A hidden Switzerland of the Middle East, not because it imitates anything, but because it stands entirely in its own identity. And if you listen carefully, beyond all assumptions, you might hear it, the quiet continuation of life that has never needed to announce itself to be real. As dawn returns, the cycle begins again, not as repetition, but as renewal. Light slowly touches the highest peaks first, then descends into valleys where villages begin to awaken one by one, as if responding to a silent signal only they understand. Smoke rises again, footsteps return to familiar routes, and the sound of daily life gently re-enters the landscape without breaking its calm. It is never abrupt. It is never loud. It simply resumes as if it never left. And what becomes most striking is not the isolation of these places, but their coherence. The way life here does not feel fragmented into past and present, but unified in a single ongoing moment. The elders do not live in memory, they live within it. The young do not inherit a broken line, they continue a complete one. Even the mountains seem to participate in this continuity, unchanged not because they are static, but because they are patient beyond human measurement. Standing in these heights, you begin to realize that hidden is not the right word. Nothing here is concealed. It is simply not oriented toward being seen. Its existence does not depend on recognition. It does not pause for attention. It does not alter itself for interpretation. It remains what it is, regardless of who arrives or who leaves. And perhaps that is what makes it so rare in the modern world. Not its beauty alone, but its indifference to being called beautiful. Not its history alone, but its refusal to treat history as something finished. Not its silence alone, but the way that silence is full, active, alive. Because here, life does not try to stand out from nature. It stands within it,